everyone. This is the different voice. That was Kyle. This is me. I'm very grateful that you are all here this afternoon. What an incredible turnout for Craig and the family, that so many folks have come to be with us. Folks that have flown from other places and countries, and folks with whom the kids have grown up with, and so many people that have worked at the Tread Shed, and folks from Pittsburgh that have known and loved and been with Craig. I know so many people have said, who is going to take care of my tires? So, where am I going to go? Well, that's a big question. It's hard to fill his shoes, that's for sure. My name is Father Robert, and I have the great privilege and honor of being the pastor of the Catholic Church in Antioch, but I'm also the chaplain for Contra Costa Fire, Sutter Delta Hospital, Kaiser Deer Valley Hospital, and the Pittsburgh Yacht Club. So, my reach is far and wide on land and sea. So I'm so honored to be invited by Vicki and the family to be here with all of you. I had an absolutely wonderful experience with the family in their home up on Geneva Lane in Antioch. The whole family was gathered there. A lot of them are here today, and there was singing and eating and laughing and dancing and telling stories. It was just an incredible experience. There was so much love that Craig was surrounded with as he prepared to make his transition to go home and to be with God. It was an absolutely beautiful transition, and they literally, from our perspective, they loved him into heaven. There's just no question. So we're gonna hope you see the beautiful program that they created for you. All the photographs that are on it. We're going to have a series of speakers. We're going to start with Kyle, and then they're going to come up one at a time. They've created a wonderful video tribute that's going to take place, and then I'm going to bring it home at the very end. Okay? So again, we cannot thank you enough. There's, so many people have done so many things for the family, but the best gift is the gift that you are all giving today. You are here to support them, to love them, and honor Craig's memory and who he was for each and every one of you. So I want to start, first of all, with a beautiful prayer for Craig, all that he was as a husband, a father, a grandfather, and truly beloved. So I invite you to join me in prayer. Lord our God, you are the author and the source of all life. You are the mother and the father of us all. And you breathe the gift of your life and breath into each one of us when we come into this world. We thank you most especially today as we gather to honor Craig's life and memory. And you made the union between him and Vicki a sign of the bond between yourself and all of us who are your body, the church. We thank you that you have freed him from his suffering, that you have granted him peace and rest, and may the care and the devotion of his life on earth and all that he did, all the lives that he touched, and the great difference that he made, find that lasting reward with you in the beauty and the glory of heaven. We thank you that we have this opportunity to come together to support Vicki and the family, children, grandchildren, and all of one another as we turn to your compassion and love. So most especially strengthen their faith and lighten their loss so they may know that Craig is in that place where there is no more suffering or mourning, no more crying or pain, but only the fullness of life and love with you forever. So be with us now as we honor his memory with all of these tributes, looking at photographs that will remind us of all that he was and all that he did and all that he accomplished, and then sharing a meal of fellowship, a meal of goodness and love, a meal that binds us all together in your name. And we ask this in the name of your Son, who is our life, our hope, and our resurrection, who lives and reigns with you forever and ever. Amen. So Kyle, you're up.
Bear with me, I've done quite a bit of speaking in front of crowds, but never under circumstances like these. So I'm going to try and keep it together. I want to start by thanking everyone for coming here today, my family, and I truly thank everyone for the love we've received and for the love you've provided my father throughout his life, all the way up to the very last minute. We appreciate the flowers, the cards, meals, and donations to hospice. We cannot truly thank you all enough, and it's just amazing how many people have showed up. I really appreciate it. We all do. I'm going to start with, my dad could beat up your dad. That's what I would say when I was a little kid, even though my dad was like 5'8"-ish, not very big. But to me, he had big bumps on his arm and a tattoo, and he was the strongest man alive. My dad and I didn't get along very well for the first 20 years of my life. I was pretty much a jerk, and he was a dad that thought his kids shouldn't be jerks, so you can see where it went wrong. He was by far the most influential person in my life, without a doubt. I knew from a young age that I wanted to follow in his footsteps and work at the shop. Actually, I wanted to be a tire guy, but really I wanted to be a baseball player or a football player, even a Chippendales dancer. But when that didn't work out, tire guy it was. He was more influential on me than I can even explain, but this story shows it pretty well. When I was going off to college, which I failed at miserably, by the way, I was driving in my Honda Prelude and my parents were following behind me. At the last minute, my dad said, "Nope, I'm riding with you." Now at the time, my dad and I didn't get along at all, and I was pretty much dreading this ride. And we fought the whole way up to school, the entire ride. It was miserable. When we arrived to the school, the first stop was to the police station to get the keys to my dorm room. I was talking to the police officer, doing the paperwork, and my dad elbowed me. A beautiful blonde had walked in the room, short jean shorts and a white tank top, and he elbowed me and whispered, "Don't you hope they all look like that?" That beautiful blonde is my wife, Katie. We've been married 18 years, almost 18 years, and together for 25. About 6 weeks after that day, I called my dad and said, "Dad, I'm coming home this weekend, and I'm bringing a girl with me." The blonde from the police station. "Good man," he said. I loved that. He was the hardest working guy I ever met, whether it was at the shop or at the house, making sure we had the nicest yard in the neighborhood, which us kids did not appreciate. I remember when my parents bought the house in Concord, all of us kids were devastated. We wanted one of those McMansions they were building in Antioch, and that house was a dump. My dad worked at the shop all day, then got off work, went to the house and worked until late at night. And every day he did that until he turned it into the nicest house a kid could have grown up in. I swear that man lived on Wiener Schnitzel and Miller Genuine Draft in the bottle for months. And by the way, he could flip an MGD cap farther than anybody I've ever seen. He never complained, unless he got home from work and there wasn't a Pepsi in the fridge. Nothing would make him matter. There were times when us kids knew we had drank the last Pepsi, and one of us, usually me, would have to ride their bike to the store to get a Pepsi, because God help us all if there was not a Pepsi in that fridge when he got home. He did not ask for much. Working with him for so many years was beyond tough. I started there the summer between 5th and 6th grade. He paid me $1 an hour, and I was probably worth half that. I thought I'd be a tire guy, and instead on day one, I was told to sweep the floors, take out the garbages, and scrub the toilets. I was mad, but I did it. The next day I showed up and said, "What do I do today?" He said, "Sweep the floors, take out the garbages, and scrub the toilets." I was really mad now. I said, "But I scrubbed them yesterday." And he said, "Did anybody use them yesterday?" I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "Then scrub them again." He was hard on me, as he should have been. When I was a junior in high school, I worked every Saturday at the shop. I told my manager one day that I needed to get off early because I had homecoming dance that day. And he said, "Well, you better ask your dad." So I called my dad. He didn't work Saturdays at the time. I called my dad, and he said, "Not a chance. You finish the day, and then you go to your dance." He said, "You get off at 3, you're meeting your friends at 5, you're not getting off early." And I protested. I was mad. I was pissed. And I said some words on the phone. He fired me right then and there on the phone. But I had to finish that day. You're not getting off early, but you're not working for me anymore. So I got a job at Jiffy Lube. As I said, he was hard on me, as he should have been. He always told me to act like an owner. Act like you own the place. That all came true when he got very sick with meningitis about 17 years ago. He was sick. He didn't come back to work for almost 9 months, and my mom rarely came in because she was doing what she does and took care of my dad like she has the last year or so, being the hero she is. Suddenly I had to pretend like I knew what I was doing. I went from being just a rookie counter guy to, I'm in charge of this place now. I look at my dad's life, at least while I was alive, as two definitively different periods. There was the BM and the AM. There's before meningitis and after meningitis. The people that knew him before meningitis, at least especially the people that worked for him, he was intense. He was incredibly intense. He took everything very seriously, whether it was at the shop or keeping the yard looking great. He was a serious man. After meningitis, he changed. He realized life was too short. He didn't sweat the small stuff anymore. He traveled a lot more. He laughed a lot more. He played pranks. He made memories. He treasured the moments a lot more. He told me about a year ago, if you get a chance, sell the business. Get out as soon as you can. That place is going to kill you. He was the only person that truly understood the stress of running the shop. He would always talk about the huge burden we carried on our shoulders every day when we turned that key. Not long ago, I was extremely lucky to be approached by a company to buy the shop that my dad worked so hard to build. And I was so lucky to keep it. I truly look at it like my dad worked so hard to build this awesome car. And when he sold me the keys to it, it already ran good, it looked good, it was fine the way it was, but that's not the Schoenthaler way. Good enough is never enough. All I had to do was put a supercharger on it, add a nitrous kit, and just try and keep it in the lines and not wreck it. Now I was so scared of wrecking it. Without him, I would be nothing. About a year before he passed, we already knew he was sick, and we knew in the long run he wasn't going to get better. I was driving home from the shop and realized I hadn't talked to my dad in 2 weeks. We usually talked every day or two, pretty extensively. I sat there at a stoplight and thought, am I ready to live without my dad? I immediately started crying and dialed his number. I wasn't ready then, I'm not ready today, and I don't think I'll ever be ready. When something bad happened, the first person I would call was my dad. When something good happened, the first person I would call was my dad. With my dad gone now, I'm truly lost. He was the compass for me. He would always help me find the right direction, even in the worst storms. And life has showed me there's more storms coming, and I pray I can find a way without him. He taught me how to be a man. He taught me how to drive a boat. I'm way better at it than him. He taught me how to fly. He's way better at it than me. He taught me how to treat the mother of my children. He taught me how to let things go. He taught me how to stand up for yourself. He taught me how to be a boss. He taught me how to be a dad. He was always the most fun guy in the room. He could make friends with everyone. I don't think I ever met someone that didn't think my dad was an awesome guy. Actually, there was one guy, when I was young, he took me with him to let the air out of the guy's tires that owed him money. He told the guy he could have his golf course back when he paid him. That guy was pissed. There was also the air traffic controller that caught my dad putting all of us kids in his 4-seater airplane. And he told us to duck as we went by the tower. That guy saw him and he was pissed. That was the first time I ever saw my dad get yelled at. That was bad. There was also another guy who owed him money. We pulled up to him at a stoplight one day, and the guy had his mistress with him. My dad rolled down his window and said, "Give me my money, you piece of POS." That guy was pissed too. My siblings and I are so lucky to have had him in our lives for so long, but not long enough. The hole that he leaves in our family will never be filled. He is irreplaceable. He's truly one of a kind. So I ask everyone to honor my dad. Work hard, but not for too long. And love your family. It's truly all that matters. Do the right thing. Don't spend any time hassling with people because your time is too limited. Don't waste it. Maximize every moment. And make memories. Because in the end, that's all you have, memories. So make them good. I love you, Dad. Thank you for all you did for me and for so many others.
I did not get the gene of public speaking from my dad. He could talk to a room, I cannot. But I'm one of the twins. If there's one phrase that sums up my dad, one that you'll probably hear over and over today, is making memories. He lived by that motto and made sure we did too. My dad found freedom in voting or being in flying. He made sure we all got to experience that same joy. He loved airplanes. It didn't matter where he was or what he was doing. If there was a plane in sight, he was tracking it. Even if he was driving, he was more interested in that plane in the air than keeping his eyes on the road. I'm honestly surprised we made it through some of those drives in one piece, but that was my dad. My dad loved sharing his love for airplanes with the grandkids. He would pick them up and take them to Taco Bell and bring them to the Concord airport to watch the airplanes take off and land, and my kids absolutely loved it. In high school, I usually took A period, so Dad would always drop me off at school before he went to work. One of my, can you hear me?
Oh, it's the little button on the bottom that's missing.
Is it time out?
It's that little button. No, it's hard to hit. It's missing.
Test. All right. Every speech needs an intermission.
Okay. In high school, I usually took A period, so my dad would always drop me off at school before he went into work. One of my favorite stories was how he taught me independence in middle school and high school. He'd have me write my own excuse notes, and then he'd sign them. But what he didn't notice is I'd write the excuse in pencil, and then he would sign it in a tread shed pen. And then later I'd erase the excuse I wrote for what I really needed, whether skipping class or buying myself time on an assignment. We talked about it in one of our many conversations before he passed, and he was shocked he didn't know. But we had a really good laugh about it. Boating was where we bonded the most. Some of my best memories are spent on the water. Mom packing up on a whim after a morning at the ball field and heading out for an adventure. Whether it was cruising through our favorite slough on the Delta or spending time at Mandeville, it was always perfect. Those moments meant so much to me that my husband and I went and bought a boat just like his.
The battery's dying or something? It's at the bottom.
Hello?
Just like his, so that we could make the same memories for our boys. And then there was the care packages he would send me in college, if you could call them that. They were filled with the most random stuff. Jack-in-the-Box sauces, salt and pepper packets, tread shed pens, a little bit of spending money, and almost always Chex Mix. Basically, anything in his reach ended up in that box. But what made them? Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I don't have a nail. Hello? Oh, there we go. And then, but what made them so special was the little handwritten notes on the tread shed papers, always full of love and encouragement. I love those care packages. I wish I'd, oh, shoot.
Somebody in the
Is there? I have a plug-in microphone. Awkward. Well, it's going.
Keep going, keep going.
I wish I had kept every single one of those notes. They were such a perfect reflection of who he was. Practical, a lot goofy, and always thinking of me. My boys have the...
I think I sabotaged it for everyone else.
You spoke to you.
Hey, we got another one coming.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's that.
I broke it.
Yeah. That's Dad messing with me.
I know. Because I said I don't like the public space, so he's doing this to me. I know, that's what Kyle said. Make me stand up here all awkward. Yeah, exactly. Okay, all the way. Fresh water.
5 seconds.
Oh, okay. No, she got it. Okay. Thank you. All right, hello. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. My boys have the best memories with my dad and mom. Their individual birthday adventures, getting to go shopping, then staying overnight on the boat, fishing, or more accurately, tying a cheese puff or a piece of popcorn to a string and hoping for the best. They didn't care about catching anything, they just loved making those memories. He wasn't just a father and a grandfather, he was a teacher, a guide, and a friend. He taught us independence, stubbornness, adventure, and how to make the most out of every moment. He was always the life of the party, ready for a Bacardi Coke and dancing. And though he may no longer be with us in person, in every moment of chaos we'll stop and think, well, at least we're making memories. Dad, thank you for everything. For the love, the laughter, the memories, even the wild ones. We love you, we miss you. We'll carry you with us always. And I know you're up there with so many people and dogs that you missed over these years. Watch over us. And don't forget the code word, tires. We love you and miss you already.
If I want to hold the mic or just do it higher.
You want higher?
Yeah, shorty.
Squeeze that thing down there.
Yes, we
Squeeze
speak
the
out.
panel about the middle.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's good. It is a packed room tonight, and I'm actually not surprised. I mean, my dad, obviously, we all know how great of a man he was. So I'm just going to start with the scripts, and I might go a little offline, but we'll keep it with it. I'm Jess. I'm one of the twins, maybe the cooler, cuter, I don't know, but I am the middle child of all 5 of us, smack in the middle by 15 minutes. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming to honor one of the coolest guys I have ever known, and I'm so lucky to call him my dad. First, I want to thank him for being the best dad in the world, because he truly was. Second, little different remix is I like to thank him for my name. You see, had it not been for my dad, my name would have been Candace. And there
It's holding a camera. Come on.
two issues with that. One, certainly I could not have pulled off the nickname Candy. Second, my mother-in-law's name is Candy, and I think that would have changed the whole trajectory of my life with my wife. And her mom being Candy and me being it just might have been a little weird. So I want to thank him for that. I'm also fortunate that he decided to give me the name Jessica because he wanted at the last minute to honor his godfather, or his uncle, my godfather, Paul Jesse Malone. My wife and I decided to keep that tradition alive by naming one of our twins Jesse, and our other twin's middle name is Malone. On a side note, Jillian would have been Courtney. And no offense to the Courtneys out there, but I definitely don't think she could have pulled that one off. So thank you very much, Dad. I also want to thank my dad for everything he's taught me. Growing up, he'd always take the extra time to teach me what he knew. I was definitely a tomboy. Shocking, I know. And I loved to follow him around. Whether it was building things, working at the shop, or just burning things on the barbecue, he always took the extra few minutes to show me how and what to do. Because of that, I can say I am one handy lady. I'm definitely gonna miss being able to call him to ask him questions, pick his brain, or just tell him the stupid things I've done, so at least he could laugh about it. He would always come back with the same motto, well, at least we're making memories. My dad loved his grandkids immensely. Their papa was always down to hang with the kids. When I asked our boys some of their favorite things about Papa, they were quick to yell out Papa juice, which is pineapple, orange, banana juice. And that they loved it when he fed their mouths full of whipped cream and ate their feet. Kind of weird, but it was a Papa thing, and the kids still get a kick out of it. As most of you know, my dad was a funny guy, a jokester, not shy to do the finger dance, kind of my signature move too, as well as certainly not afraid to be goofy. He was always the first to get up and grab the mic to thank someone, welcome someone, or just say hey. Even though mostly unprepared, he always gave a great speech. He was a man of many words. Definitely not few. I could go on and on with stories about him. He was always a great storyteller, and he certainly never got the short version. But I can tell you, it was definitely going to be detailed, possibly a little overemphasized, but that's what made him such a great storyteller. He could keep the entire room engaged with his stories. Even while stuck in the hospital bed in the middle of their living room, my dad was given a fart machine. And he definitely used the heck out of it. Some of you may have seen the videos on Facebook. If you haven't, please check out my dad's Facebook to look back on. I had no idea what was going on. I showed up, sat down. This was all, he's made the magic happen of the explosions going with his fart machine. And while most people would be appalled, I was stoked. Because my dad always told me, good intake, good outtake. No matter the time of day or how he's feeling, he was always a positive light and always down for a good time. I want to thank my dad, again, for being the best dad I could ever ask for. And for showing us what love is about, because he always made it very aware that he loved each and every one of us very much. And he also made it very known that he was madly in love with our mom. He was our biggest cheerleader. Dad, thank you for showing us the way it should be. We all love you very much, and we'll cherish your memory and your spirit for life. Love you.
figure what's up? Sorry, this whole, it's like it was built for my dad, a tiny man.
Got the same height as me.
Yeah, right. All right, well, I figured I should start off with something my dad always said every time he had a microphone and he was in front of a group of people that he appreciated. I want to thank you all individually. Thank you. And you in the back, thank you. Here I got it. Thank you for being here today. I can see by the crowd and all the people that have reached out over the past few weeks that my dad was a loved man. He was a great father. Through 49 years of marriage, he was a great husband, an amazing grandfather, businessman, mentor to many, and as I got older, a friend. I don't want to be speaking here today, but my dad taught me you have to. If you care about somebody and they made an impact on your life, then you gotta let the people know. So here I am. My dad taught me most of what I know today. They're the easy things like be a hard worker, family is everything, be a man of your word because that's all you got. And then there's the important things. Like always tip your server up front and warn them of what's about to go down in the crab feed. Before you lift anything, big or small, you gotta go before picking up, so it makes you stronger and everyone is notified around your watch. I can't go through all the life lessons my dad taught me over the years, but I try to narrow them down to a few that I want to share with you today. My dad taught me to always help a boater in need. My dad and I spent a lot of time on the water. Birthday parties, weekend cruises, quiet nights at the marina just to escape the house. Over the years, we helped many boaters on the water and unfortunately needed help many times ourselves. A jet ski crash, running aground, getting a rope caught in the prop in the middle of nowhere. We've seen it all. I remember the last Father's Day I spent with my dad before I became a father myself. Him and I spent the day on my little boat in the Sacramento River. It was a great day. I showed him all the spots I learned over the years, had a nice meal and a couple of drinks at a restaurant on the river. We just talked and hung out like buddies. After a great day of exploring, we decided to call it a day and head home. As we pulled into the marina, my dad said, "It's a nice day. Let's cruise." He loved cruising. My brother and I used to hate it because all we wanted to do was fish, and he just wanted to cruise to the next spot. As I've grown, I've seen how life gets crazy sometimes, and sometimes it's nice to just cruise. I understand that more now. As we cruised, we saw a boat with about 6 people on it. Halfway underwater, it wasn't running, it was sitting on the rocks. We were ready to go home, but we knew what we had to do. We somehow squeezed everyone onto my tiny boat and towed their half-sunk boat back to the launch ramp a few miles away. The guy said thank you and offered us some money, but we told him, just pass it on to the next boater. You see someone, help them. My entire family lives by this, and I promise my kids will too. My dad taught me to allow yourself to like what you like and not care what others think. My dad was a nerd. He was happy with that. When he liked something, he didn't care what people think. Geocaching, stupid shirts, flashlights, and needed technology. My dad loved new tech. He even had that little Apple logo on the back window of his truck. Before iPhones, there were Palm Pilots. My dad always had the latest one, and after some chores, I would get his old one. We both nerded out on that stuff together. When I was in the 6th grade, he let me to school one day. He said, "We're gonna go learn something different." Instead of school, we drove to San Jose to attend the wildly exciting Palm Pilot convention. I was the only kid in the building. It was such a boring event. Anyone I told about that day makes jokes and just makes fun of it. But my dad loved every minute of it, and somebody had to go with him, and I got to be that person. It's a memory I still reflect on to this day. My dad taught me to always love your wife. You chose her for a reason. My parents had 5 kids. They meant to have 3. But the 3rd came with a 4th. And obviously, the world needed the 5th and best Schoenthaler kid. Growing up, it was great. It's a lot of fun, a lot of madness, a lot of fighting, a lot of laughing, a lot of jokes, a lot of stories and memories. My brother and sisters were a real pain in my ass for my parents to raise. Luckily, I was pretty easy. My mom and dad always stayed united. It was 5-on-2. They were outnumbered, but they did it. My dad loves my mom, and my mom loves my dad, and that flame is still lit today. My mom and dad chose each other for a reason. And if times ever got difficult, they remembered that. They taught me that by having the right person by your side, you can get through anything, and how important it is to parent as a team. My dad taught me to challenge yourself. It's worth the reward. My dad was a really small man, and far from an athlete, but he sure could hold his own. I don't think I ever saw the man lift a weight a day in his life, but he always had that old man strength. He could swim end to end in my grandma's pool with no breath. He could do a backflip off a diving board in his 40s, and somehow hold a 3-minute plank in his 50s. Growing up, we were a big part of the Boy Scouts. My dad led my brother's troop, and years later, led mine. My troop did a lot of bike riding, and my dad and I started getting into it. One day, he decided that we were going to ride our bikes over Kirker Pass. It sounds like people are familiar, but for those that aren't, it's a 4.5-mile highway connecting Concord and Pittsburgh. Basically, it's a straight hill. Cars and trucks driving by you at 55 miles per hour. It felt like it was straight up and then just straight down afterwards. I was a fat 12-year-old, and he was long past the age of riding bikes over mountains. But he wanted to do it. Thought we could do it. We were going to do it. We saw guys all the time doing it. They were on their fancy bikes, wearing full skin-tight outfits, camelback waters on their back, and mirrors on their helmet. I was wearing a windbreaker jacket because I thought it made you fast. My dad was probably wearing jean shorts and his damn Seagull shirt. Somehow we made it to the top of Kirker Pass. I got the photo to prove it. There may have been some hiking involved, but we pedaled most of the way. I'll never forget coasting down that hill with him after we made it to the top. It's something I never thought we could have pulled off, but my dad thought we could. My dad has 5 kids, 9 grandkids, and an amazing wife to carry on his legacy. My daughter Delilah was the last born grandchild. I'm so thankful I got to meet her. Although she might not remember spending time with her papa when she's older, I promise to teach her and my son all the lessons that he taught me through life. Here or not, my dad will continue to make an impact on all of our lives. The world is running out of good men, and I'm so thankful that it made me one. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathleen, and I'm Craig's twin sister, and I'm out of order, so we'll have fun. You know what, it actually is better because you just heard from almost all his kids and how amazing they are in their families. So I knew Craig longer than any of you, except Vicki. So I had 9 precious months with Craig, and it was pretty quiet there. And we were womb mates, get it, with a W? So my mom was told that there was only 1 baby there. And then, this is 1956, voila, after I was delivered, she passed out. And then when she awoke, the nurses were saying, oh wow, we have to fill out twin reports. Somebody had a twin boy, and my mom said, tell them congratulations. And they told her it was her, and she passed out again. Thus, our poor parents had 3 kids under 2 years old and absolutely no help as they were new to Concord. And all their parents lived states away. Craig endured weeks of crying, weeks. And then it was finally found that he had a hernia, and surgery took care of that. Thank God for our next door neighbors, Alan and Helen Ballack, and 6 of their kids are here today. All these years later, 68 years. They were our next door neighbors on Victory Lane, and they jumped in to help care for Craig, Robin, and I. They grafted us into their huge, fun-loving, Perushki-filled holidays, and we had an instant family. Slowly, life smoothed out. Craig and I wore identical sailor outfits to kindergartens at Fair Oaks Elementary. I always felt secure because he was my built-in friend and protector. He tried sports, and that didn't really work that well. And school was so challenging. It seemed like Craig had to work twice as hard for anything, and he did it. Fortunately, Craig hit his stride in high school at De La Salle, and he was good looking, he had a hot car, and he was invited to all the cool parties. I remember he'd drive me to the Friday night dances, and yet once through the door, he was just enveloped with girls, gaggle of girls. And I ended up usually in the bathroom in a stall crying because I was braces, glasses, under construction, and I would desperately wait for the long version of Hey Jude to end. Yet at home, dysfunction abounded as my dad's workaholism blended with alcohol. It was a potent mix that overwhelmed my incredibly loving mom. And it culminated in my dad forcing Craig to become an emancipated minor at 16 years old. And dark days loomed. An awesome classmate named Ken Leone, who's right at that table, became Craig's hero. He opened up his apartment in Lafayette, living with Craig, and they became good friends and very resourceful, learning bus routes and how to live frugally. So to earn money, which Craig had to do, he spent summers in Ketchikan, Alaska, with our aunt and uncle, Jess and Anita. He learned from Jess how to literally sail any boat, how to camp in the wild, and how to build a house literally from the ground up, everything, electrical, plumbing, all of it. Best of all, he witnessed their marriage that was so fun and strong, and it was a guiding light to Craig. Our hero, Ken, also introduced Vicky to Craig senior year of high school. And oh my, I remember meeting her, both of them, in the parking lot at school. And I'm telling you, they were smitten. It was almost like they just swallowed the sun. They just glowed 49, 50 years ago. I think the Bible describes it best. It says, love flashes like fire, the brightest kind of flame. So soon they graduated. They drove a van all the way to Alaska for that last summer. A year and a half later, they married at St. John Vianney, and Craig joined the Navy, which led him and Vicky to adventures in Guam, including surviving a devastating hurricane. In the next almost 5 decades, they applied everything they'd learned with their 5 kids, most of whom you've heard from today. And they gave them such great memories with boat, RV, and camping trips, all the while working incredibly hard in the tire industry. So bravo to you, Vicki. As you and Craig and all of your family overcame all of this, and you've accomplished so much. You both turned lemons into raspberry mint lemonade.
Hello, I'm Barry Carmichael. Back in the 80s, my son Eric decided he would going to join the Cub Scouts. So I decided I would take him down and sign him up. Well, little did I know that there was a new pack forming. And Craig and Kyle were there. Kyle was Eric's best friend. And I met Craig and we got signed up too. So we led the pack. And we would get together, and the meetings were kind of boring. Once a month we would do it. So we decided we would go to the den meetings. And that didn't work very well. The den leader said, no, I can't run the meeting with you here. So it kind of hurt our feelings. So we got to talking, and found out that he was in the Navy, I was in the Navy, and about the same time. And he was on the Enterprise, I was on the Mount Hood. And we used to unrep with them, with the Enterprise. And so we got to talking, and we got to know pretty well each other. So we, with the pack meeting and stuff, we, didn't know what we were doing. So, we found out that, there was different applauses, So Craig, he liked the round of applause.
Oh, yeah.
Round of applause. I didn't much care for that. I liked politician applause, that's a pat on the back. But, we got to where we learned a lot. So we we took the boys on camping trips, and there was one place that we went that the boys, Kyle and all those, they would get together and they would have these lizard races. And by the end, if a lizard lost the race, he got his tail pulled off. And I swear, you couldn't find a lizard with a tail anywhere on in that camp. So
he's not lying. We chopped off a lot of tails.
But over the years, Craig, after we left the Scouts, I was a Cub Master, I was a Scout leader, I was all this at the same time. And we got to know pretty well each other, over the years. So Craig would always invite me along with the tread shed trips, the rafting, and we went down south, with this car racing thing, and we went cruising on the boat, So it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. And to know Craig was a treat. Excuse me, but I'm going to miss it. That's all.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Frank. I want to thank the family for giving me this opportunity, because looking out here, I only knew Craig probably the last 13 years. Julie and my wife, we got to meet Craig and Vicky through the Dabble Caravanners. We had joined the RV club about at the same time. I think they might have joined a meeting before we did. And so that was kind of our introduction to each other. And from that point, so I guess going off of Kyle, I knew Craig AM. Okay? I knew the chill Craig. My hope today was to kind of lighten things up a little bit. I think he would appreciate that. I had to wear my Hard Daddy shirt in honor of him. If it would have been a little warmer, I would have went full Craig with shorts and flip-flops. But I did as best as I could. One of the things about the Caravanners in the years that we spent going up and down this state together was we had a lot of different outings. Over time, I found that Craig really loved the Santa Cruz RV Redwoods Park there in Felton. We'd always fight over this one spot. He'd always tell me it was his spot. And after a while, I finagled some stuff, and I got there one time before he did. I go, haha, it's now my spot. And so we had a lot of fun with that. One time there was a bunch of us going to a rally up in Oregon, and some folks here was on that trip. And so we get to Red Bluff. First night, that's where we all meet up. So, okay, we're gonna leave the next day. What time are we gonna leave? Oh, 10 a.m. Okay. So, next thing I know, we get up early the next morning, you're having your coffee. Craig's ready to go. And I look at my watch, I go, Craig, it's 8 o'clock. He goes, I know, we're burning daylight. And so the next thing I know, Craig's gathering people. 8:30, we're pulling out. But we have this one couple that's with us who are notoriously late sleepers. And they were like, wait a minute, I thought you said 10. Craig's like, well, you know, and luckily they were cool. They said, okay, well, you guys just take off, we'll catch up. All right. So we go, and on the way we had to stop for lunch, and we had some other stuff, and long story short, they ended up getting to the next location before we did. One of the great things traveling with the Caravanners was sometimes we'd end up at a place that had karaoke. Okay. And it really plays into their love, because I don't care how many times we went to a karaoke, Vicky and Craig got up and sang, I got you, babe. I mean, and they would sing it with gusto. It was great. I always loved that. Later, Craig and Vicky went, this one year they went on this really long trip. I don't know, 5-6 months. They were going over most of the country, and Craig started taking notes and doing a diary, and he would post it. And then at the end of the trip, one time we were together, and he goes, hey, you want to see my book? And I go, what book? Well, he had found this company that he would send all of the pictures and everything he had written down, and they compiled it in a book. And he probably ended up with 3 or 4 of those books from your guys' different travels. So, I mean, it was a fantastic thing. And I knew Craig's love for ships and airplanes, because anytime we were anywhere and there was an airplane museum, we were gonna go, okay? And he could tell me stuff about planes and I'm like, I knew it flew, you know? So one time, Julie and I was with some other folks, Vicki and Craig, I think that was when they were on this massive trip. We had actually driven down to Key West, Florida. And there's a great little RV park there called Boyd's, and it sits right on the water. And every morning at 7 a.m., fighter jets from the nearby air base take off. Julie didn't appreciate it. She thought they could wait till 9. So one morning, I get my coffee, it's like 7:30, I'm sitting outside, and I go, oh, I'm gonna call Craig. So I dial him up on the cell phone, and I go, hey, where you at, buddy? And he we're here. He goes, where are you at? And I go, wait a minute, here, listen. And this jet takes off, and he got so excited. He goes, no, where are you at? And I told him. And so then he starts telling me about the jet that he heard. And I was amazed. One of the things about Craig was he was very proud of his military service. So am I. One of the things that we did share was we had these shirts, and I think other veterans probably have them. They say DD 214 alumni. And if you went up to Craig and you go, what's that? He goes, well, if you know, you know. And basically the DD 214 is when you are done with your military service, that's the document that you get to prove that you had served, and it was a badge of honor. And whenever I was with Craig and we'd be at a rally and they were gonna honor the veterans through a parade or a gathering, he'd always come get me. Come on, we gotta go do this, we gotta go do this. And so we would go and, sit with our fellow veterans. And, another time when we were traveling, we had left Evanston, Wyoming. We were going up to Gillette. We were gonna go to a rally. Julie and I was first, Dave and Nancy Henderson was second, a couple, Bill and Shirley, was third, and Vicki and Craig were bringing up the rear. And we all had walkie-talkies so we could communicate as we traveled. So when you leave Evanston, and if you're gonna go up to Gillette, it's basically a 2-lane road through nowhere. And we're about 20-25 minutes outside of town, and I hear on the walkie-talkie, you're on fire, you're on fire. And I look at Julie, I go, who's on fire? And she's, I don't know, and so then you start hearing bits and pieces because we keep going and the distance is getting a little farther. And in my rearview mirror, I see this black smoke coming up and I go, oh, this isn't good. So I pull over where I could, Dave pulls over next. And so for the next 10 minutes, we're hearing all this commotion, not knowing what's going on, but we could just keep seeing this smoke. But long story short, our friend Bill, his tow vehicle had caught on fire and it engulfed. And so luckily, Vicki sees that he's engulfed in flames because Bill can't really see his tow vehicle. So they pull over, and Bill swears that if it hadn't been for Vicki and Craig jumping out of his coach and coming to help him disconnect their burning vehicle, he could have lost his coach also. And that was the type of person Craig was. I mean, if you needed help, boom, he was right there and he was gonna help you. All right, and the last thing, the last trip that Julie and I went on with Vicki and Craig was Mexico. And this was quite an experience. We drove our RVs into Mexico for 14 days. I think we covered over 2,000 miles. We were going whale watching down in Guerrero Negro. So the first night we meet in some little RV park just north of the border in San Diego, right outside San Diego. And so we're night early, and it was through this company called Fantasy RVs. And I think there was 14 total RVs that were going on this trip together. So that first night, everybody kind of gets there, and nothing was planned. So Craig says, I think we all should meet. So he goes around and he starts introducing himself, and next thing you know, we're all sitting in a big circle around the campfire, and Craig, ding, 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 and how he was. And so he kind of takes over, starts this impromptu meeting, everybody starts doing these introductions. And so for the rest of the trip, whenever we had a gathering and to start it off, Craig would have to go ding, 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 or it wasn't official. And the people that was with the company, from that point forward, the whole trip, they tried to recruit Craig to join their company because they said, you'd be a natural to lead these trips. And of course, Vicky's like, no. But yeah, making memories. And buddy, you were a heck of a guy. You left a great legacy, and you're going to be missed. So, thank you.